really want to keep that.
I think we have to get rid of it now, just for the sole fact that they've actually won a baseball game. So
I get it, but you know what? We'll keep it on deck because, Pirates, and I feel like we just need it in there.
Yeah, definitely having it on deck's good. The agreement was that if they win, we will go back to the normal. So,
And
you can't pull them out if it looks bad and have to go back on the trade now. It's already been negotiated. So.
Let me show everyone why we didn't do that today, because I'm bad at this.
Now, let's go!
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting there, though. Two guys having fun, and I think you're doing really well learning and no hard.
Yeah, I definitely did not take steps backwards at all. Oof. Yeah, but this is true. Yeah, the play was to get rid of it and go back to the normal one when we actually won, and then I panicked and didn't think we were ever going to win again, so I didn't focus on it. So there's that. So, anywho, it's Saturday night. Welcome to Baseball with Babs. And we have winnings to pay attention to. I didn't catch today's game because I was working because, I don't have a good job. And, I think you were, I don't know, what were you doing? Like cleaning the oven or something? I don't know.
Today, I attended a child's birthday party, my friend.
Okay, so you'd rather
I doesn't know.
Okay, so you'd rather clean the oven. Got it. Okay.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. That's a whole separate conversation. But don't you just press a button nowadays and they clean the oven for you?
Well, usually you have to step in there and then someone behind you closes the door. And
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll try that out tomorrow and let you know if that works out for me.
Okay, good, good. Just do it after our episode.
Speaking of people throwing themselves into ovens and closing the door, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. So,
that wasn't planned. That's called improv, guys. That's why we're professionals.
Let's revisit. So we have a lot to cover since our last show. So our last show was last Saturday. No, Monday. I apologize.
Monday, yeah.
The days are mixed up horribly.
There was a few days I woke up this week and I thought it was Saturday. So
that sounds pretty painful.
Today was not that. Ironically, today was not one of those days.
So you woke up and you're like, oh, I can sleep, and then you had to go to work.
Oh no, I still work on Saturdays. It just has a better feel to it.
Oh well,
yeah,
a little bit easier. Revisiting our last show, we ended with predictions for the Padres series. I wanted to talk about this one because I nailed it. It wasn't even a close.
Congratulations!
Like I predicted, which makes me very happy. Not really, but I do like to, because you had one up on me last time where you predicted the series perfectly. So revisiting our predictions from the Padres series, Rich had the Pirates winning 1 of 3, and I had them getting swept. I really didn't like the pitching matchups, and the one thing I did declare was that Martin Perez was going to go 7 scoreless. So I was close.
You were.
But I did predict that Martin Perez was going to be like the final twist of the knife in the back.
Of course he was.
And we'll talk about him a little bit later. But it's interesting to see him succeeding already with a different team and a different setup and things of that nature. So
we have seen that book before, man. Too many times.
Getting into it, we'll do a quick recap of the old game, the older games this week, and then we'll get into what's happened recently. Game 1, I have it labeled as a snooze fest.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. I mean, it was a late night, just not all around not a good time. I think I ended up losing 3-0. What was it, 3-1 or something like that? They lost. They scored 1 run because Cutch scored.
Yeah,
I do remember that. The story of that game more than anything was probably Jake Woodford going 6 innings, actually pitching quite well. Aside from that, I mean, Woodford got through the 6th. Beeks gave up a run. Just an overall.
Which in itself is like a newsworthy blurb.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot on the past shows, but Beeks, up until that appearance, had not given up a run since his first appearance with the Pirates. So he had a pretty good stretch there where he was pitching well and doing well. And even then, it's 1 run, right? If we see it consistently, David Bednar, then yeah, let's get concerned. But I'm not ready to label him as a bad move yet until we see some more there. Excuse me. But yeah, I want to kind of talk about game one in general and the main takeaway, aside from the obvious losing and, Woodford actually looked half decent. And I know you like to refer to him as a creative player. That's your nickname for him. So I guess that's my first question of the night is, are you buying the Jake Woodford for good start, the Jake Woodford? He might be something here.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like if Brett could be a baseball player, it'd be Jake. Like it's just the most boring of stuff. There's nothing special there. I don't know if it's a matter of maybe teams haven't really gotten the tape on him or cared to look at the tape. They're like, okay, this, like if he was an MLB The Show, he'd be like a 64 common. Like that's what that would be. Like there's nothing special there. Great, have success. Nobody knows who you are. Literally, like even your mom, like they don't even know who you are. It's fine. I spot start, great. He's right-handed Jeff Locke.
I think that's pretty flattering, to be honest with you.
I mean, like early Jeff Locke, like 7 ERA Jeff Locke.
Right. Well, first of all, we'll talk about this more tomorrow when we have Gary Morgan on the show tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Who?
Gary Morgan.
Whoa!
Fan forum. So first big guest for us. So Gary Morgan will be on tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'm going to save the preview and stuff like that for the last game of the series until then.
Yeah.
But I will let you know. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but Woodford is starting tomorrow as well. So
yeah, I saw that.
After the game.
Like, let me just finish here. I'm not mad about him playing. I'm just not excited. Like nothing about him jumps off the page. I'm like, you do enough to not get shelled, which at this point feels a little, that's kind of a feather in the cap for the pitching staff at this point. I'm just, if you wouldn't tell me his name, I'd forget who he is.
I'm right there with you. I'll be honest with you. I think that's the perfect way of putting it is I'm not angry per se or upset or even questioning the guy playing, right? Especially at this point of the season. But overall, not a lot pops up to me that makes me think like, oh, wow, this is going to be something that's going to happen consistently moving forward. Kind of bringing the metrics in and stuff like that. Like he's not missing bats. The contact is not soft, right? Like I think one of his quotes after the game was like, "Oh, a lot of soft contact." Like that's only going to, I just overall feel like, between the metrics and the track record. And first of all, take a step back here. The guy started the year with the White Sox, so big upgrade, right? So, but I just don't see the stuff being there or the numbers or metrics to back up anything that he is anything more than a spot starter, like you mentioned. Right. Yeah. And I've seen some people posting some photos about some videos about his pitches and one of his pitches being really good. And that's fine. That's well and fine. It's just, I think we definitely need to accept what he is, which is
one pitch does not a pitcher make.
Right. Probably going to be on another team come next year. And that's totally fine. I'm not upset at all by any means, but I mean, I think he ended up K-ing like 2 on during that start. And, Ks aren't everything.
But you can't be a starter and do that. Like this, that doesn't work.
It's a bad mix. You're not missing bats and you're giving up hard contact. Pitchers like that, they're going to have stretches where they look really great, right? Luck's part of baseball, and they're going to have stretches where they get hit hard, right? So I definitely understand giving him another shot tomorrow, but I'm on the same page as you, my friend. Is nothing more than a spot starter,
right?
Just pump the brakes there for a little bit, especially with the depth they have. Like, nice move, sure, but I just don't see it. I agree with you.
Would you by chance make him maybe for the rest of the year, or if for whatever reason we sign him back, like a long man?
I could see that. I think his sole purpose on this team right now is to eat innings.
Yeah, that's exactly the verbiage I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
So whether it's starting or a long man, I'd definitely be open to something like that. Again, this isn't. God, it's so nice to say this. It's not like this guy's plopping into our 2 or 3 spot in the rotation. Like guys of his type
like
have done in
last
the
year.
past.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
By the way,
So
we're
again,
recording
like-
during the Steeler game. I realized that. I'm like, our viewership's going to be poopies.
oh, it's
and,
okay.
and it's fine. Nobody likes us anyway. We don't have anything good. We don't have anything good to say.
I don't know. I got my Pirates long sleeve polo on. So
Oh, I got an Adam Frazier jersey on.
you know what? That's not bad. I'll give you
I
credit
love
for that
Adam
one.
Frazier. Oh God, I love that guy. Like when he had Pony as his walk up. Oh, let's go. He played Pony at the wedding, and all I could think about was Adam Frazier, and it was weird. I should have been doing that, but I'm also like, yeah. Anyway, continue.
But yeah, I honestly think his major league tenure in the future here is probably long, man. If he's
Okay.
going to find a consistent play, which is fine. But again, his role is 8 innings. So
I'd rather have him do it than Majinski.
Well, yeah.
Don't burn the arm. Burn someone that doesn't really. We're down 5 in the second inning. Yeah, chuck Obi-Wan Jabroni in there. It's fine.
I will say, I'm glad that he's getting starts and it's not Jermon.
Oh God.
We talked about that a lot in the last show or the show before that. Don't be surprised if they give him a long run in the rotation to see what they got, right? And
yeah,
talk about this later, but it's already not working out too well. So, but overall, I again, no complaints. Better than Jermon. He's getting the job done so far, but let's keep it at that. The guy's probably a spot starter at best. I like the idea, like you said, of a long man. I think that's where he'll probably get a lot of his major league experience in the future if he does stick around. So,
hold on. Vic has a comment here. Hold
is it not showing?
on.
It's not showing on my end.
Let me see here. Give me a sec here. Sorry, this is real-time things here. What's repeating? Let's see.
You looking at the Sydney Sweeney pictures again and acting like someone's commenting?
Yes.
Mm.
He said, why does this keep repeating over and over? Did I come in the wrong door? What? Oh, comment on. Oh, yeah, he sure did. Do me a favor. Send Vic the link again here.
Oh, is he on the short?
He is absolutely on a short. He's on Taylor's awful take.
First of all, which one of the takes are we talking about here? Where you said that was an awful take.
I don't remember. You make I don't know. You make a lot of them, so I can't remember.
I do make quite a few poor takes. Yeah, so the link I posted is good. I'll send.
Just resend it to him there, like DM him or something.
I'll DM our pal Vic because I do like having.
Yeah, because I don't want him to. Because I know he was waiting. Like I think he just clicked the wrong one.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. But anyway, next on the agenda here.
Should tell you enough. I'll just make this comment real quick. It should tell you enough that our main topic of Game 1 of the Padres series was Jake Woodford. So let's move on along.
Right. Yeah,
We've
that's
gotten that out of the way.
Point.
So
right.
Game 2 I have labeled as yet another snooze fest.
Yeah.
Just overall not great. I mean, we're back to not hitting that series entirely. Yeah, I think the theme here is going to be very inconsistent especially when it comes to the bats, especially recently. You know, you have one series where they hit, you have another series where they score 3 runs in 3 games. So we'll kind of dive into that in a second, but that's immediately one of the things I noticed is.
Listen, I just have to get this out here, dude. Michael King's sinker is filthy. Oh my God, I was unfamiliar with your game, pimpin'. God bless America.
And
I'm not even mad that we couldn't hit that. I'm like, I would be pissed if I had to hit that in a video game. Like
right.
Just the disgust, like the fact that you're able to throw a sinker, because he was busting Rowdy hard. Like, you don't see people throw sinkers up and in ever. You don't see people throw sinkers up, but he was throwing it up and in to Rowdy like 3 or 4 in a row, and he's just looking at him as like, dude, like that's not fair. Like that's not okay. And it was bonkers. So I will chalk that up as a Michael King just show. But continue.
No, I've been on the record multiple times. That is my sleeper pick for the World Series this year. Is
Yeah.
San Diego. The lineup is great, especially later in games. I'm telling you, when you get a second, look up the stats with them, like in high leverage. They're
Yeah.
first in like everything, which is just absolutely insane. So seventh or
And
later.
they only got better at the trade deadline. So
Right. So like, the lineup's great. They hit when it matters most, and then you add in the pitching. King, you mentioned Darvish is going to be coming back at some point.
Yeah.
They've got Musgrove back. They have Cease. Like, this is a team. They added Tanner Scott at the deadline. This is a team that last time I checked, they were like 18-1 to win World Series. Like, that's tempting right now. That is very tempting for the team they have coming together, how they're playing, getting hot at the right time. So I agree with you to a degree. I had a friend say this to me today. Of course, they had to face Arizona, San Diego, all these teams when they were scorching hot. Again, no excuse. There was some pitiful baseball in there.
There were some winnable games. We lost by, I think, was it every game except the one we played against San Diego? No, not everyone, but I think it was like 3 in a row we lost by a run. Right. That's a very winnable game.
Well, we're going to talk about that later because that's something our friend Vic I talked with today on Twitter.
I'm hoping that's who just popped in here. If that's you, Vic, go ahead, throw something in the comments or bub.
But these games, you mentioned the one run, 3 loss, very close games. Just imagine what it looks like if they flip 3 of those.
Yeah.
Especially
it still feels bad, but not as bad. Absolutely.
Right. But game 2 was more of the same. King dominated. Ortiz bounced back. I want to talk about Ortiz after this.
Yeah.
Ben Heller looked good again. 2 innings. Nicholas pitched a scoreless inning. The bullpen, for the most part, has actually encouraged me quite a bit recently, aside from the back end of it. Right. I mean, Heller has looked good.
It's suitable. It's absolutely fitting that the back end includes Bednar.
Right.
He's an ass. You get it?
Another game where it's just like snooze fest. Here's some couple cool things, but overall, I mean, they got dominated. They lost again.
Yeah.
I want to take a second and talk about. First of all, I want to talk about Heller. Like, the guy gets a lot of hate. He really does. But I'm starting to be a fan a little bit. I definitely see what they're doing with him. It definitely makes a lot of, and especially with the Dodgers appearance, he struck people out left and right. And that's what he was doing in AAA. Like I talked about this. The K numbers in AAA were great. The whip was.
Well, that was the bases loaded 3K deal, right?
I think so. Yeah, where he kind of like tap danced.
Absolutely sick.
In the Dodgers series, I think he K'd like 5 of the 6 batters. This appearance against the Padres, I don't think he K'd too many, but still, like, I definitely see what they're doing. The guy can go multiple innings.
Right.
He can strike people out. He's proven that. I mean, these are the kind of guys that, they got him for next to nothing.
Right.
Yeah, the first appearance was an absolute debacle. They had to leave him out there until
and once again, Shelton literally left him out to dry.
Right.
Which, thanks, Shelton.
That was Charrington. That was a Charrington/Shelton masterclass because Charrington left the bullpen short, and then Shelton also bungled the management of it. So it was a deadly combo for poor Ben Heller.
Yeah.
But really encouraged with what I'm seeing. I mean, I'd like to hear what you're like. Do you think that he could be anything? Do you think this is going to be something where?
I mean, honestly, I'm not saying I was sold on the 3K situation, but I was kind of sold on the 3K situation. It doesn't. One inning does not a pitcher make. I get it, but dude, that's facing like the billionaire lineup and saying, hold my beer, watch this. And just, he wasn't phased. And I think I feel like that's something that we are severely lacking on the back end of bullpen.
Yeah.
Could this just be an anomaly? Maybe, or maybe the first start or the first appearance was an anomaly. Maybe there is something to be had there. I think since we're out of it, and anyone that doesn't think that is a big old silly pants.
Very PG. I'm proud of you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Big old silly pants. Give him, just put him there. Do something. Let him pitch. See what you have with him, because now this is the best time to do this because we're out of it, and you're playing teams that are, for the most part, in it, or could be in it. So they're trying to win. It's not like you're playing the White Sox and the Tigers. You're not doing that. This is where these guys are trying to beat you. Show your talents, see what you got, and then parlay that into something for next year. Build an actual bullpen. Once again, I mean, we're going to get Moretta back next year, which is exciting. Hopefully he still has the stuff, still has that swag about him. That'd be fun. I would not be opposed to re-signing Chappie. I'm okay with it. I mean, I've always liked him. He just was terribly inconsistent, but I'm also like, dude, a $103, a $104 coming from the left side. Okay, I'll deal with some walks. Like, he's kind of matchup proof, and we don't have anybody else in that bullpen that is that. But yeah, Heller, do it. Audition him, see what you got. Same with Kyle Nicholas. Audition him for closer role, please.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I've said this statement various times while recording this with you, and is they need to be making moves where they bet on upside, right?
Right.
And what I mean is moves. Like, hell, you got him for next to nothing, right? You got Bart for next to nothing. Like, take flyers on guys that you think have the skill set that you can get for next to nothing to build, right? Because we all know it is no secret. This is not something that they had to, crack an FBI file for. They're not going to spend all that much in free agency.
Right.
A team being built as a winner here is going to be by finding players like Bart's through cheap trades and Heller through waiver wires or cheap trade. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like, I've talked a lot about next year. One of their biggest needs is starting to become a late inning reliever.
Right.
With how Bednar has been, even if he finishes strong the rest of this year, I don't think you can confidently go into next year with, eighth inning is Holderman, ninth inning is Bednar. We're totally fine.
No.
Right. And I like that you brought up Moretta. I think Moretta coming back will help a lot. Hopefully Baraki's back fully healthy next year.
Yeah. But I keep forgetting about he's a part of the future there. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. You're a thing. How many years do we have Beeks for? Is he just a 1 year?
I think he's a free agent after this, so we'd have to sign. I don't think they're going to sign him either.
Oh God, why not? Because
some team will give him like 1 year, $8 million to be their closer.
Yeah, that's true.
Some team will overpay the hell out of him.
That's fair. Okay, good
I'm a Beeks fan. I don't think he's worth, $6
million.
Someone will give him that.
No, I mean, especially if we have, Baraki back, it's kind of like, well, that's basically Beeks. It's fine.
Right. I mean, if what teams are trading for relievers at the deadline's any indication, people will be paying top dollar for, which is insane with the market. Just saying that out loud. Like, this guy's probably going to get guaranteed $6 million for who he is. Right.
Yeah.
But overall, we talk about the bullpen being a need. Nicholas sub 3 ERA now. We've talked about Nicholas and my love for him. I like him too. You bring Moretta back. If Heller ends up being someone who's you're looking at like a big chunk of that bullpen already created. And that doesn't even include all the other guys. There's plenty of names I can list here, but I like what they're doing. I agree with you. Like, give guys that got a shot now, especially now that you're out of it. I mean, what do you got to lose?
Right.
You give these guys real in-game situations. They're facing teams going for it, contending.
Right.
And you're going to know, is this a piece or not next year? Right. And do I like banking off that kind of sample size? No, but that's what teams like the Pirates have to do. Right.
Right. Yeah. We're not going to go get a Tanner Scott. It's not going to happen. I have a question. Something just popped in my head. I don't think this has ever really been done, or maybe it has, and I'm just not remembering it. What if you did like a tandem closer situation? Like, you got Kyle Nicholas coming from the right side, and then you got Chappie coming from the left side. Like, literally have your closer be matchup dependent. Is that silly?
Kind of goes back to the Pirates reality. They would there have been teams that have done this, Rich. Especially the teams with loaded pens where they have the luxury of going to one or other guys. Right. A lot of the time you'll see what happen is managers will mix their 8th and 9th inning guys. So if you go lefty in the 8th, you might wait to the 9th because they're facing X, Y, and Z. Or you might bring your closer in the 8th because it's a certain part of the lineup. Like, this is already happening a good bit, but it's never they're both reserved for that specific inning.
That's what I mean. Like, but also that's gonna put such a tax on your pen though too. So you just know because I have to follow the rules of baseball, I can't use these two players. So yeah,
Right.
it was just a thought. I'm like, that would be, because we're so staunch in our play of that. No matter what it is, Chapman or Bednar's in there, as long as he didn't pitch for 3 days in a row. And even then, fuck it, let's try it. I'm like, no, don't do it. But yeah, this was a thought. I think that would be a cool kind of, if they ever expand rosters, like maybe 28 players or something like that. Maybe that could be a thing, but
I could see other teams doing it. I think
Yeah.
there's other teams doing it right now.
yeah,
But with the Pirates, there's two things. I just don't see them spending on a reliever to have them.
no,
They're going to want set in. You know what I mean. You know where I'm getting at here is they're going to try to get, and that's how Shelton operates too. Certain guys get certain innings.
right?
But
Which
to be fair, that's not a Shelton thing. That's a very very
it's an
common-
old school mentality, but
right.
same thing as the Steelers running on first and second down. It's like that's not the game. That's not the modern NFL. You don't have to follow in the forefathers' path.
And now, again, what I mentioned in the past is definitely happening. There are managers who have their closer coming in the seventh. It usually makes people's heads explode, especially the old school people. I agree with you on that. That's something that's already happening. But in terms of a dual kind of thing, like maybe rarely in the sport, but you know how money goes.
Yeah.
You know how traditional rules are, things like that. But I think it's a good thought.
I mean, that was last game, right? Like they switched it up where Chappie should have been in the 9th and Bednar did the 8th, and we didn't do that. And was that yesterday? Was that last night's game? Was that last night or was that? Yeah, that was last night. Yeah, because I just heard, because I was listening to the game. I refused to buy Apple TV. You guys can suck it. You already got enough for my iPhone. You're not getting more. But I heard Brownie talking, and actually, no, him and Caps, they're both like, why? This would be a perfect opportunity to put Chapman in the 9th and Bednar in the 8th, because there was like lefty. And they're like, hey, Bednar, do the 9th. But in the 8th, it was like righty for Chappie. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Especially someone with closer experience, too, who's been pitching really well.
Right. And I know I said he's matchup proof, but you also have to understand who's following him.
Right.
Forest for the trees, like game management thing, that thing, Sarek Delton doesn't know what to do. That's our new manager, by the way. Sarek Delton. Yeah.
Is that the Apple TV person? Oh, no, that's the fake Shelton. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, Sarek Delton. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our new coach.
Again, it goes back to the traditional rules. That's what it more is. Yeah. There are managers out there that will do that.
Yeah.
But still more often than not, it's the certain guy has to pitch a certain thing. That's your guy. They have to perform. That was the argument with Hrrrummphhh when he had all those blow-ups was this isn't Shelton's fault. Hrrrummphhh needed to perform. That's his spot. He's the guy. Right? Even in dire situations like that where the guys, they tend to stick with them more than not, because in their mind, it's you stick with them, you show the trust, they get through it. That's how you break a spell, right? I just don't know. There's certain situations. I get that mentality to a degree. When your season's hanging in the balance, maybe not.
Exactly. That's situational awareness. Know your audience, know the situation. Right. Don't do that when you're on a losing streak that you're desperately trying to snap. You're like, hey, the guy that keeps been giving up runs, chuck him out there. Bases loaded? Meh, it's fine. No.
Speaking of losing streaks, game 2 we lost. Ortiz pitched quite well, but Ortiz is someone I want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
And, he pitched really well for a long time, but has kind of stumbled recently. He bounced back in that Padres game. I think it ended up going like at least 5 scoreless. Point being is he started out hot. He has struggled. Yes, he bounced back in this start, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on him. Some people view him as a long-term piece. Do you view him as a long-term piece in the rotation?
I do not. He is exactly what he is been touted to be. He is a long man that converted into some spot starts. Once we started relying on him, that's when he was like, oh yeah, no, I'm that guy that I used to be. I'm no. And every time I see him starting, I'm very nervous. So every emotion that I don't have for Jake Woodford, I have for Ortiz, and none of them are like exciting. He doesn't seem like he cares that much. He just seems like he's there, and I don't know. Not too many people on this team have fire.
He seems like someone to me. I'm a little. I guess I'll take it a step further here.
Okay.
Do not be surprised if he's traded in the offseason. I can see him being someone, especially that if they do go to move from pitching depth, that might appeal to certain teams.
What would we get for him? Just a.
I think he'd be part of the package if they want that route.
Okay.
I don't think it would be like a straight up kind of thing. I'm talking like him plus a few others. I've seen a lot of mock trades with him in it, and I understand the reasoning why. So I'll start with. I agree with you. I don't see him as a long term piece. Again, as a 5, I'm not complaining right now, right? Like I think that he. But again, it kind of goes back to he's not missing bats at all. Despite his stuff, he's not missing bats. He's not K'ing much. The hard contact's still there. And again, going back to the Woodford, like, and I'm not saying they're the same pitcher at all by any means.
No.
Pitchers of that type that rely on the contact and things like that, like you can't. Go ahead.
I know they're not the same pitcher, but they're having the same results. Like that's kind of not great. Like the velocity is completely different. The stuff is completely different, but they're basically are kind of mirroring. Yeah, they're doing that. So I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I'm like,
it's kind of my point. What my point's getting to is very similar in terms of like not missing bats, giving up contact, and with pitchers like that, like I mentioned earlier, very unpredictable. You could have stretches where they look really good because everything that's hits right to an infielder, it's or they do get some soft contact from time to time, and then you're going to have other starts. Arizona Diamondbacks, where they just hammer everything that you put out there, right? Because you're relying on contact.
Right.
So for me, what intrigues me about him, do I think he has the thing about him is this, like what you just mentioned, is the stuff is actually pretty solid. Right. Like, you've seen the fastball get up to 99 this year. I think he has really solid stuff, and that's where I see teams being intrigued by him. Hell, I mean, if the Pirates can work with him to tinker what he's doing, if you add the ability to miss bats with that stuff, or give him, have him start using a different pitch more often, that could lead to more strikeouts and things of that nature, I could still see him being one hell of a pitcher, right? But that's what makes me think, like, you already have so many arms coming up. You already have so many arms here. You have arms coming up next year that are definitely probably more geared to contribute long term here.
We're kind of set on right-handers, yeah?
Seems like it. Again, health permitting, you never know what's going to happen with now and then. Someone might wreck their car into, a truck, or who knows, right? But someone might stub their toe exercising and it break it. Like you never know what happens anymore in the off season, right? But overall, health permitting, he seems like someone that's more of a nice to have as opposed to need to have. Like, and Harrington coming up next year, Chandler coming up next year, they might. Hell, might do a cheap reclamation project if I could talk in the offseason. Like, we kind of go back to they're going to have to trade from this depth, especially if they're serious about competing and they need to add bats.
Yeah.
He is someone I could definitely see another team taking a flyer on in a trade of some sort because of what I just mentioned. The stuff's there. I mean, look what happened with Perez. They tinkered his pitch usage, and he's already pitching lights out, right? He's K'ing a lot more. That's a real possibility with someone like him. With the stuff that he has, with the pedigree that he has, do I hope he does that in Pittsburgh? Sure. But I think at this point, with the pitching you have, that's someone you probably try to package, get a bat.
Yeah, where are you going to use him at? Like that's the thing. There's just too many chefs in the kitchen already. You're just fitting the need because Jones is hurt.
Right.
So,
I mean, what happens when Jones is healthy and you have these guys up next year? Like, are you going to have this guy just sit in AAA? Like, I get it. Pitching depth's important, but I'd rather have a bat who's contributing and helping them win games than an extra pitcher down in AAA who might never ever miss, strike people out.
Right, because he's going to be behind those other big names. So
right. Correct.
Simple as that.
This is a good problem to have, my friend.
Yeah. It's absolutely a good problem to have.
I just think you do it before. Well, there's still the intrigue, and there's still
before he blows up and does what he probably will do.
Right. Well, again, pitchers like that, you might have a year where he's really great.
Yeah.
And you might have another year where the guy just gets bad luck. He gets hit all year.
Yeah. Well, he likes to throw up all over himself, so I'm kind of like, yeah, no, that's a great point. Get rid of him before he does that, so he does it somewhere else.
Right. People were shocked when he got crushed in Arizona, and to a degree,
I was not. That's what he like. That's why he kept losing his starting position in the rotation, because it's like, dude, you throwing 98 down the middle is not conducive of like success, man. That doesn't work. 98 isn't as impressive as you think it is anymore. It's 2024, not 97, where like two people were doing that.
Game 3,
Mm-hmm.
Padres series.
Yay.
I think it's a good topic to talk about here. First, start with Bart again. Bart continues to just make us all happy.
Yep.
I believe he homered that game.
Yep.
The big story, obviously, was Martin Perez looked like Nolan Ryan against the Pirates, which, again, predicted that.
Yeah.
Again, that is just something that like you kind of get very used to as a Pirates fan. To kind of touch on the negative side here is I saw
that's
his
kind of what I meant. That's why I made bets on Musgrove. I'm like, all right, let's see here, and come back here at first, and he didn't do anything for me, but it's fine.
Right. It was like
I lost $30 that day.
A freight train coming our way. I was like, with how they're playing, with how he has pitched his first couple starts, then you add in the fact that we just traded him for nothing. We were all celebrating it. This guy's going to come in and make sure we get the 10.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that you get so used to, right? It sounds so complainy, but I'm sorry. Like that's where I was. And again, we kind of touched on Perez a little bit. Like he went to the Padres. I'm not gonna sit here and say this is a failure on the Pirates' part. Is it annoying? It wasn't expected, sure. But we've seen them really work with a lot of arms and develop a lot of arms for me to be able to stop and say, like, oh, Martin Perez had 3, so they're terrible. Like, it's just, again, there's some times where teams get their hands on pitchers. They have different philosophies. Those philosophies work better for individual arms, right? And I forget the exact pitch, but they have him using a certain pitch a ton more. And now he's striking people out left and right. Of course, he's still giving up a lot of hard contact and home runs. So, like, I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. But for the purpose that they got him, let's eat some innings until we get to the playoffs. Looking pretty good for the Padres right now.
I mean, and they'll probably just convert him to a long man anyway when you get back. I mean, but at the end of the day here too, I think something that we're not really mentioning is you're going from a pretender to a contender, and I think that does. You can't measure that what that would do to a psyche. So, combine that with different pitch usage, a different coaching staff. You're right. It is 1 billion% predictable.
Right. With our current coaching staff, right,
or lack thereof.
So,
Sarek.
Speaking, we talked about Perez. I'm not going to pout about it because I predicted it. I was expecting it. Good for him. Don't see it lasting.
Nope.
Let's talk about Mitch Keller.
Okay.
He is someone that I'm surprised I'm not seeing more talk about. ERA is nearing 4, right? He's kind of having his like yearly, decline. He kind of struggles a little bit. My question for you with Mitch Keller is: this is another start where he got hit hard. ERA is nearing 4. Are you worried at all about Mitch?
I've never believed in the guy ever. I always thought he was a trash panda. It's terrible. I think he just dances between raindrops. His velocity went down like this year. Working on control, which is fine. Now, obviously, I mean, his breaking stuff is filthy, but I just never really believed in him, man. I just never did. My feeling on him is always, when's the other shoe going to drop? And I hate that. Like, I would like to be like a truther, but something about him, just his the aura, there's nothing there for me, man. He's from Iowa, so I get it. So his personality is similar to Grain, but I'm like, I don't know, another piece of bread, man.
He's tough because for me, there are some concerning things. The biggest thing for me is the Ks are way down.
Yeah.
He had over 200 strikeouts last year. He's sitting at like 125 right now.
Oof.
That's his biggest issue is, again, we talk about this. If you're giving up hard contact, you need to be able to, make up for the strikeout. We saw David Bednar do that today, right? But if you're giving up the contact you're giving, if you're leaving the ball over the plate like you are, you have to be able to strike guys out. And last year he did. He one of the top strikeout guys in the league, finished well over 200 strikeouts, earned him a nice payday, nice extension. But that's been his issue this year is he's not missing as many bats. He's not finishing guys off like he was last year. Am I overly worried? Like, I'm waiting for that was a bad contract and all that. How the wind blows.
Right.
I'm not overly worried long term just because this is a guy who has shown multiple times. I'm gonna get all touchy feely here for a second, but it's part of the game. He's a guy who has shown on multiple occasions that once something doesn't work, he'll work on it and he'll fix it and he'll find something that does. Right. So while this stretch has been awful, while I'm concerned about the Ks, do I have doubts? I'm more confident he's going to come back next year and be the same Mitch Keller than I'm sure you can hear my kid whistling.
I can see the fury. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I'm like he's dying inside.
But you get the point. Like for me, I'm more confident that he goes in, puts the work in, comes back.
Right.
And again, the cool part about all of this is we don't need him to be a 1 anymore. We don't need him to be a 2 anymore.
Right.
Hell, we might not need to be a 3 if Chandler keeps pitching like the way he is. We're talking about a guy that, yes, he's struggling a little bit, but like you're looking at one hell of a 4, even if he does maintain the current pace around a 3.9 ERA, strikeout.
Right.
I still think he has a place on this team. I don't think by any. I think if he pitches just like this the rest of his career here, that contract with how the pitching market is still a bargain. But I get where you're coming from. Like
especially with who else we have. He doesn't have to be that 1, and then you can literally taper your expectations to say, okay, look, he can be a 3 or a 4, and $150, $160 strikeouts, 4 ERA, filthy breaking stuff. I mean, dude, we would have done some really immoral stuff like 5 years ago to have that.
Right.
So
progress, my friend. It's exciting.
Right. Yeah.
We're able to say, hey, if this guy does struggle some more, he's our 4, so it's not a big deal. Right.
Right.
Just for me, that's what I like about him is I think his floor is kind of what you're seeing right now. I think long-term 4 ERA, 4.5 at worst. Even then, that's a pretty solid 5.
Which you remember his first year? What was it, like 7 or 8? He was in the
7s, 6s for his first couple of years.
Yeah,
and that's where I kind of can't get away from. I think the guy's going to figure it out. And not to mention, again, we always bring this up. Like there's been when the velo was down, is he healthy? There's been talk about that, but overall, I think his upside
wasn't healthy. That's come out by now. If he wasn't healthy, that'd come out by now. I think he's just more so focused on location, which I'm okay with. But you also can't, if you're doing that, you also can't have your stuff leak over the front of the plate there. It's like, that's a BP fastball, bub. Don't do it.
On a 10, I think I'm 2 out of 10 on the worry meter right now. Now, if he gets shelled 3 more starts in a row, then sure. But I just.
You've changed my mind. You've changed my philosophy on it because you're right. I very, very much have been in this dilemma of thinking of, man, he's supposed to be the one, yada, yada, yada. And he's not pitching like a 1. I'm like, well, he doesn't have to now. So he can have these things and still be like, okay, cool, dude. You're number 3 right now in the rotation. Cool. Like, that's fine. You can have a 4 ERA. It's not that big of a deal. We don't need you to be the stopper. We have 2 big horses in front of you.
Right. Maybe 3. That's the coolest.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, now. I mean, Jones will come back, right? Like, he's gonna pitch at some point this year, right? Like, we're not.
I think he's doing rehab assignment. I think he's already triple.
So yeah, he is. I just don't know if we're like just letting him pitch and not worry about being up here. I don't know if they've already waved the white flag. I don't know what their exact intentions are, but
I think they're just taking. I mean, at this point too. I mean, barring the team going on a 10-game winning streak, haha. I mean, they're probably 8 more games. We're getting there. But overall, I think at worst you got a 4 or a 5. But the cool thing about him is if he does figure it out again, you're looking at 2, right? Like that's the thing. Like it's a lot easier to have someone like this figuring it out at the major league level.
Yeah.
If the floor is what it is, and then you have the other guys for sure.
Right. We've seen some floors before, man. Like you've seen
compare some of the arms we were trotting out last year and the year before and the decades before this. Like I agree with you, my friend. Like, oh no. Sorry, I'm gonna make sure nothing's on fire real quick.
No, I don't.
We're good.
I don't know what that's about, but I'm intrigued.
So we get into we kind of talked about this. The Padres series was just a stink fest.
Yeah.
They scored 3 runs in 3 games. Again, I think the Padres. I'm going on the record again. This is a team's going to go deep if they make it. I'm convinced.
When's Tatis coming back? What's his issue right now?
Who?
Tatis.
He's on I've had him on my fantasy team. He's been doing baseball activity, but there's no timetable still.
What did he do? What did he hurt?
Femur stress reaction. It was something pretty. Sounded a lot worse than it actually was. Like I think he's only been out for a few months, but he's doing baseball activity. There's no timetable for return. I'm glad you brought that up. They're going to have Tatis added to this lineup at some point.
I love Tatis so much.
I figure that he's someone that as long as they're winning, they're not going to rush him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah, why? Yeah, no need to.
I mean, imagine adding a superstar to your playoff roster when you need to go to the playoffs. I mean, it's another thing to think. I'm glad you brought that up. That team is just –
I was going to say, they're basically getting a trade by acquisition by injury reserve kind of removal.
Right.
Darvish and then oh, God.
We call that the BAB special in fantasy football and baseball.
Dude. Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm the king of stashing players in IR and then using them to reap benefits. Jacob deGrom is my latest victim. He's been IR'd, and he's going to be my championship winner when he comes back.
All right.
That's right.
Fair enough. Okay. What's next here? What do we got?
Andy Haynes is a terrorist. That's where we're at. I mean, they have one series where they can't score more than 3 runs. And then we get to this series, right? And here's the good stuff, right? So game 1, Mariners. It finally ended. Once the final pitch was made, I jumped up and I ripped off my Chris Archer jersey and I said, no more disgusting shame because we have won a baseball game. And number 1, they hit, right? So that was the first part. They hit. I think it was ended up being like 5-3. Skeens pitched okay. Control was kind of an issue. Yesterday. My God, days are mixed up. Skeens pitched well for the most part. 6 innings, quality start. He walked 4. I think he still K'd like 8 though. So again, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I didn't have any problem with how Skeens performed. Grandal pimped the hell out of a home run. You would have loved it if you were watching.
Sign him to a lifelong contract. Let's go.
Yeah, I know you love your bat flips, and I know you've been looking for a reason to.
I do. I watched it a few times. I'm like, God, I wish you were like mildly talented, but I love it.
IKF did IKF things.
He does.
Cruz came up big late in the game. Bednar could make a funeral exciting. It feels like. He did his normal thing, give up a home run, but they were able to lock it down and end the streak.
Funeral exciting.
Yes. Right. So Cruz ended up being all right. He had that awkward turnaround second, but
I watched that a few times. I'm like, oh God, how are you? And then I messaged you today. I'm like, how is this guy in the lineup? Because his ankle looked like it was, made of rubber bands. So.
Well, I wonder if he didn't tweak it coming out of the box or something like that, and then he had that reaction coming around second because of that. That would make a little bit more sense.
So, real quick, I just want to delve because I know this is on the agenda here too. So I'm going to, sabotage us here. Yet another time where Pirates Twitter has come up big on being a bunch of douches and just absolutely just ramrodding Cruz. There is a guy on here, and I'm going to name drop him because he's a dick. I think it's David Todd. on Twitter. All right. This guy's a douche. Just a giant douche.
You know what's weird about him? He's always very, the team can do no wrong. So it's really interesting that he has.
So you've seen it too. So you know who I'm yapping about.
Yes.
Okay.
He's usually like the opposite, where you can't really say anything negative.
Okay.
Where he's finding like the positives in the shitstorm. So
okay.
I'm curious to see what he said about this.
So I'm actually going to pull it up here, right? Since we're going to go that route. One memento here. So I went ahead and I saw this before I took a nap for lunch, because that's what I do because I'm an adult. That's my life. But where is he at? Okay. My take on this, and this is when on that fly ball that he got hurt on. My take on this, Cruz was fine coming out of the box. He just wasn't running hard as he should have been. Cranks it up when he sees the ball isn't caught and does something rounding the okay, he can't spell either. Fucking idiot. Rounding the bag and pulls up. If he doesn't dog it out of the box, he has a stand-up triple easy. So here is my take on it, David Todd. Take a long walk over a short pier, first of all. I am not sure why people hate this guy so much. When you see Hayes lollygag damn near every play going from home to first, but they blame it on him being hurt. Do we forget that Cruz literally snapped his ankle in about 98 pieces last year, and he sees a fly ball that realistically probably is going to be caught? It ends up not getting caught because it plays pinball off of a guy's head and glove. And he's like, oh, okay, whoops, let me go ahead and do this. And then I don't understand why you would need to absolutely go 0 to 60 on a fly ball that probably might be caught. I get it, but everyone else does this, it feels, and no one says anything. It's a Cruz problem.
First of all, it just sounds like clickbait to me. That's what it sounds like to me. That sounds like
that's one of the comments that somebody said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's toss out something like that, so then the crowd can come and agree or disagree and and give a ton of views to the post. So I'm not going to give this one too much time, because I think the guy was just fishing.
Okay.
Right. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is just outrageous at this point with Cruz. Like, I get it. The errors have been brutal. There's been moments where he ran out the left field again in Houston, I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? I wanted them set. I was like, that's just – I get that part, right? But the guy is – number one, he's come through various times throughout the year in the clutch.
Offensive and defensively, which makes the lazy thing even more infuriating.
He's been killing the ball the last couple months. Again, people ignore that part. They don't like to mention the guy's hitting exactly how we thought he was going to hit.
Right.
And he made a couple. Again, a lot of that's I don't think a lot of the actual fans are. I think, and again, we've talked about this. A lot of people are reactionary. That's fine, especially with how his team and their history. I told someone last week, I'm not going to judge as long as you're being respectful, and I'm not going to judge if you're reactionary, because I get it, right? Especially when they were moving like they were. Like, I get getting frustrated, but first of all, you don't know when that guy tweaked whatever he tweaked, right? It could have been rounding first, rounding second. Number one, let's say he did tweak it going around second. Why the hell is he going to run the third then?
Right. Well, the argument on this person's idea is like, well, if he would have been booking it out of the gate, he wouldn't have had to do the little skid thing, going into second. It's like, well, if I would have played a different Powerball number, I would have won shut up. Like, how?
Right. Damn did you do, damn did you know.
You're watching the game. You are not seeing what he is seeing. He has a literal, well, not really a ground view because the guy's 9 feet tall, but he has a much different view than you have of your aerial, let's follow the camera. He is looking at the play, and depth perception is crazy, and it's kind of hard to tell what's happening there all the time. So I think people forget that part of it. You see the game how you see it, not as how they're actually playing it.
I want to check this out. My first thing I want to check out is
what?
I want to see. All right, so let's just say that.
Are you watching the play?
No. Let's just say that my other point is, like, if the guy gets tossed at third and he ends the inning,
then
And he's the Antichrist, run him out of town, DFA him, stuff like that. So number one, we weren't there. We don't know when what happened. Like you said, he's in the game. I'm not going to complain because the guy didn't take an unnecessary risk.
He got a double and we won. Shut up.
Right. And then you add in what happened the next at bat. IKF lined out.
Yeah.
If he's on third, the same goddamn thing happened.
Well, then you'll have then the different pitch sequence. Shut up. That's not how that always works. I understand it, but
well, see, I can play that game too. I can play the what ifs and here's what I think would have happened and stuff like that if we want to go down that route. So I'm just not a big fan of that garbage. Like I
hate it, man.
There's certain players that warrant that, but he is not.
Well, the problem is though, like even though this guy was being a douche, there's a lot of people that are actually there. I haven't really. There's a ton that are like, yeah. Let's get the pitchforks and get Frankenstein. Like that's, literally my comment was, dude, just say you don't like him and STFU.
It's pretty. I mean,
I
would respect people more if they did that.
I was like, already, God, do you and Brownie go bowling together or what? Like, what is?
Hey, I love Greg Brown, so I can't
Me too, but he hates O'Neal Cruz. But yeah, I will not. I mean, how many times have we had this conversation, man? Like, Cruz does one detrimental thing, quote unquote, and now you got people that are like, man, this guy is such a butt. It's like, because he didn't get a triple because he hurt his ankle, probably the same ankle that he snapped in 94 places. Yeah, I'm all set.
I am old enough to remember when I almost had a meltdown as a child because we traded Nate McLeod.
Oh God!
Can we just like take a second to appreciate some of the talent? Like again, but you see this every day. This team isn't that talented. You can't blame the coaching.
Yeah.
Like if this guy's biggest problem, he's smoking balls left and right. It's his first full season. He's been hitting like a superstar the last like a month or so, right? Stats back it up.
Getting better defensively. Let's acknowledge it.
Right. And again, I'm not saying he's free of flaws, but like, why are we trying to run a guy out of town that enjoy him while he's here? Because I'm telling you right now, I
want to get out. And I mean, he's probably going to be out when his contract is ready to be. But you're not helping matters. You're like, I want a winning team. Except every time we have something that could be built around, you're like, let's be hyper critical of what he is doing on a daily basis. Like he's not 1 year in, 1 fucking year in, uno mas, one.
I'll leave it at this.
Get it.
I'll leave it at this.
Yeah.
If
I get fired up over Cruz, man.
I'm just gonna say this.
Yeah.
If this is Brian Reynolds rounding second and tripping up.
Yeah. Is
this even a conversation right now? And I get it. Reynolds has a bit longer history and stuff like that, but you get what I'm getting at here. And I'm not a fan of how it's always a specific subset of a specific.
No, this is
really
itchy. I don't know why my skin is very itchy. It's
like
weird.
I'm over it. Like it's the guy's not lazy.
No.
Go blow your whistle somewhere else. Like I'm
or
over it.
Or your dad. Do that. You can blow him too. That's fine. Probably better. You'd probably suit things better. I don't know. Use your mouth for better things. I don't know. I hate it. I hate if it was warranted, like the rowdy stuff was absolutely warranted. Like I had my tubby bitch tweet of the day for Rowdy when he was hitting 014.
I called him the Hamburglar multiple times. I'm sorry again, Rowdy. I told you down in batting practice I would call him the Hamburglar, and I was
Did
sorry.
You?
Yeah, he laughed. So, I think he was too focused on Blizz, though. I think he remembered Blizz because Blizz chirped him at a game, and it was hilarious. We've talked about that.
I used to chirp David Freese and Cervelli all the time.
Oh, they probably loved that. Cervelli probably had a ball with that.
Yeah.
Skeens, I thought was fine. I mean,
back to him.
We talked about this last show. I think it's just a result of the guy is starting to labor a little bit.
Yeah.
getting into mid-August. Again, I would not be surprised by early September. At the very least, skipping starts. I think the signs are starting to get there. Control flipping a little bit, velo's down a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't push it. I mean, they're on their big 2-game winning streak right now, so we'll see. Maybe they'll keep going. Which gets me to game 2. 2 back-to-back. That's what kills me is, the Padres series, they face good pitching. They face good pitching in this series, too. But that's kind of the maddening inconsistency of any teams in this team being terrorists is like, why is there so much inconsistency with the bats, with the bullpen, and again, a lot of people might argue that's the management staff, but that's a whole separate conversation for another day. But offense came alive. Falter pitched really well today. IKF.
Yeah, I didn't catch it. You gotta carry this one.
It was good. I mean, Falter K'd 8, which is really encouraging. Wow. The fastball slider combo was awesome today. I don't see that happening every start because certain teams will catch on to that. Right. IKF, Tellez, Triolo even hit a home run off the bat too. You could tell it was gone. I almost fell over. He hit it, and I was like, "You got a hold of that one."
Yeah,
it was way gone. Bart continues to do Bart things. I mean, we're at the point now where it's almost like, oh, he did 2 doubles. Oh, another day at the office.
Which it's like, that's it, dude? Like, that's it?
Yeah. Santana hit 99 today. Dennis Santana. That's another one. We didn't even talk about that with the bullpen talk. He pulled Dennis Santana out of his ass, too. He just brought him over. Everyone was like, this guy has a career 6 ERA. I'll give our friend Blizz a shout out here.
Yeah.
Because I was very, what the hell are we doing with this guy? And Blizz was like, oh, he looks pretty good. Blizz gets the W there. He called Santana being
I mean, I just like calling him old throat tattoo. It makes me happy inside. So, but yeah, he does have electric stuff. I mean, maybe he's figuring it out. I'm fully okay with it.
Years of control. Again, health. Again, I'm not saying these guys are going to be long, but I get what they're doing.
No,
like,
we're paying them
if all these guys pan out like they are right now.
Yeah. I mean, you think about teams do that. Like good teams strike gold like that. So who's to say that we can't be like the Rays,
I agree with that. Germán looked horrendous. They tried him out in the 9th. Hit a couple guys. He walked someone. They pulled him pretty quick.
Fantastic.
So that was I told you they were going to give him some length. I don't see it. I mean, he is not. The Dodgers game wasn't bad, but it was a disaster today. That brought in Bednar, who actually looked pretty good. Like
a closer should. Cool.
I mean, Bay made a hell of a catch in right, but even then, it wasn't like it was a rocket.
Yeah.
He K'd a couple guys. Today was the first day where I was like, I walked for the first day in a long time where I got up from my couch and had a bubbly. And I was like, oh, I don't feel shame and disgust from David Bednar's appearance. So I actually will say it was encouraging today. I want to see it for more than one.
The
last one you got the home run. But I want to see it for more than one. But a lot of splitter action today. Good bit of the curve. I have no issue with how he pitched today. So
I'll die on this hill. He needs to develop it. He needs to develop a different break pitch. He needs to have a cutter or a slider. He needs something like that. He needs something to go from 3 to 7. That's what he needs.
Right. And that's why we've talked about this. I just talked about this with Ortiz. All it takes is a small tweak, right?
Right.
Is everything I'm seeing the last couple of months make me think he's bouncing back? No. I'm still very, very doubtful. But it was good to see.
Seriously, what closer doesn't have a slider?
I think he's been doing fastball, splitter, curve a lot right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What closer can I can't think of a closer without a slider. Maybe Duran? Because I think he has the same repertoire as Bednar.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to go on Baseball Savant later and find out.
Yeah, do that. Let me know. I'm curious.
I will. I'll text you 3 a.m. about it.
I love it, baby.
Yeah. Don't get any ideas, though. Speaking of sliders, Falter, 8 Ks.
Yeah.
Really good with the a lot of it was on fastball sliders. He really mixed in those pitches well. Do I think it's going to, again, Falter is someone that I preaching, you're kind of saying the same damn thing, but Falter is another one that I've been waiting heavily to blow up because of not striking guys out. If he walks anyone at all, he's in trouble. A lot of hard contact. again, his Savant page is pretty much trash except for the extension, right? That's on everything.
That's like
tries to
I'm
find it
tired
differences
of
and
hearing about that. That's like the same thing with like James Conner and his cancer. It was like every game, James Conner cancer, every game falter extension. And it's like, dude, can we stop? Like
It's one hell of a comparison.
But am I wrong? You think about it though. Every single game, there's like 5 mentions.
Well, that was the propaganda. That was the people were pissed, so they were like, "You better get this in there," and it worked out for them. Again, you got to give him credit. Like he's been a very good innings eater. He's battled through injuries. If he could ever miss bats like he did today consistently, then okay. Like let's talk about this being a legitimate guy, right? But again, it goes back to you have a lot of very solid 4 to 5 starters.
I was gonna say he's a perfectly fine 5.
That's valuable. Someone will. I've seen a lot of people speculate trading Falter. I think it was our guy Bob Straza. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Bob, but I remember you specifically mentioning to me a Falter Joe plus for Ward trade, and I kind of get the logic because I think that
like you probably just do a Falter straight up. Who the hell wants Joe?
Pitchers like Falter, pitchers like Ortiz, like they aren't sexy. Oh, you might have personal beliefs. They're not sexy per se, right? But they're gonna 4 or 5s. They're gonna eat innings, right? Like,
you have the lefty thing that already adds value immediately,
right? I mean, that's why the Padres grabbed Perez. They needed someone to eat innings at the time. That's why the Astros were interested,
right?
Because
the Astros went and got Kikuchi or whatever that his name is,
right? And they overpaid out the ass for him too.
Yeah.
So, and at the time they were down multiple starters. That's why. So, but again, even then, like there's teams that will look at an Ortiz and be like, we can out a pitch, we can tweak something.
Yeah, I mean the stuff's there. Do it. I mean,
Falter, he has this extent. Like it kind of goes back to like I love Falter as a 5, but like I can't get away from there's a legitimate chance for them to trade from this depth and actually at a bat and actually do something in this offseason.
Yeah, but I really think we need a lefty in the rotation.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying keep him at the detriment of other players, but I don't know. You can't be that heavy. I've always liked to have 3 and 2.
Well, this offseason should be interesting, my friend. How do they construct that? How do you add bats without signing people to long-term deals? I've mentioned Christian Walker. They're never going to do it.
Right.
But if there's ever a year to spend big money on a bat, it is this year. With the pitching you have. You got the gloves off of Skeens and Jones next year, health permitting. You got Chandler. You got Harrington. You got Keller. You got Oviedo coming back. You got the guys in the bullpen. You got
God, what do you do with Oviedo though? Too. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many that he could be a trade piece. That might be someone they might want to package into a deal.
Yeah.
Let's not find out if he's coming back or not. Let's just pack him into a deal. Let someone else figure that out. Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Will they actually do anything is a good question, but that's a good segue to our end talking points. I want to cover a couple points real quick before we jump off. 2-game winning streak. Good times against the Mariners. The Mariners, they're a terrible hitting team. I think they're ranked like dead last in a lot of categories. They've had it much worse than us. But
still winning record though.
Right. They're still in the thick of things. And the Pirates just pretty much came out and took their lunch money both games here. So, and that's what just maddens me about this is like, if you somehow avoid that stretch of 10 games, where you at right now?
Even go 5-5, just kind of
go 4-6, go 3-10. You're still probably looking at least they have a chance.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what kills me about well, we'll get to that at the end because I know there was a big point you wanted to talk about. I want to bring up one thing real quick.
Yep.
And you're going to agree, but I have to put it out there. Okay. I love IKF.
Yeah.
He's going to be a hero, a folk hero in this town.
He's going to be like the Adam Frazier kind of. There's somebody, I think Browns, or I think, or no, it was, Caps was like, oh, he's like Freddie Sanchez. I'm like, no, he's more talented than Freddie Sanchez. That's a bad comp.
Did you see his quote?
Yeah, I did.
He said next year, 100 wins.
I like it, man. And a lot of people will probably say that, oh, you're not going to not back the team. He's barely a part of the team, man. Like he was just like, no, here's what we're going to do, man. Like, jump on board.
His reasoning is exactly my answer to your question.
Yeah.
So let's take a step forward here for a second. One of the things we wanted to talk about was, do we have any reason to be excited about this year? And let's add in the and beyond, right? Or hope. Is there any reason to be excited?
Are you asking me, or
I'm kind of doing like a whole dramatic thing here.
Okay.
Exactly what he said is a good reason, right? And what he said was like, I played on teams that were, his exact comparison, I think, was he playing with the Yankees. Like, we faced Baltimore, and Baltimore, every game they were in it.
Yeah.
This was a team that they were in it. They could have won those games, and they were still young, and they were still learning how to win those games and get over the hump.
Right.
Because I see, pretty much in a paraphrasing way, he said the same thing's happening here. You have talent here. You have young guys you're building around. They're in these games just like Baltimore was. And they're going to go over that same hump, and you're going to see them win a division, and you're going to see them win 100 games and things of that nature. And again, I'm not taking that as gospel, but that's
but
what my main point of what my response to this was. Again, kind of going back to, I'm seeing there's a lot of people out there, and I get the anger that are, Charrington has to go. And again, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
has to go because the rebuild's a failure. They're not going anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. I don't agree at all. Am I pissed off about how things went down this year? Sure. But again, going back to what we just talked about, let's just say that, Bednar does not blow all those games, and Hrrrummphhh let's just say they get the job done in half of those, right? Much different conversation. They played over 500 ball until this point. They added at the deadline. If you take out this 10-game stretch,
right,
especially if
his bullpen, let's blame the bullpen. That was why we shit our pants. It was the bullpen,
right?
Like that. It was Bednar and Hrrrummphhh getting the yips like that. I don't have any other way to put it.
The team,
so, yes,
consistency. That's the problem. And is it because they're young? Is it because they're kind of learning how to do that, right? But again, like, this was a team that I feel like was close this year,
right?
And you remove that stretch, and they're still in it right now.
Yeah.
And then you're adding in the Chandlers,
right,
and the Harringtons, and whatever acquisitions they make. Which, again, some of the acquisitions they made were terrible. So actually get another chance to take a shot at that,
right?
You add in the Yorks and the Cooks and the XY. You get the point. Like, there's a lot of reason to think that as soon as next year they could come back right back and do this again and actually go over. Right. So that's my answer to that. I this year, probably barring them winning 8 more games in a row and getting those games back pretty much immediately, I don't see much.
Yep.
Right. But
then that was my point.
Pretty.
I thought about you when I put that in the show doc. I figured, yeah, you know what? This year, unless they are fully waving the flag and they bring those people in and they do the things that I'd like them to do with Kyle Nicholas in the closer role, or just things like that, right? I can't really be excited for the rest of the year because I kind of know how that's gonna go unless they completely come out of left field and do kind of what they did at the trade deadline and surprise us. So, but next year, yeah, absolutely. Like, I can't wait to start talking about the off season during the off season. Yeah.
This year, barring like 8 more wins in a row, I that's where I agree with a lot of people is they really dug themselves a hole. And at the same time, all the teams they were trailing were scorching hot. So, barring a magical Colorado-like run where they just have a 20 in some month, they're probably done.
Yeah.
But again, there's plenty of reasons to still tune in to see this team.
Yeah. We're still gonna watch. It's just it's tempering your expectations there.
Right. But you better believe I'm getting excited. I'm excited about next year again. My God, health permitting, knock on wood. We can end with this question.
Yeah.
I know we want to talk about 6-inning rule, but we can talk about that with Gary tomorrow. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a lot of randomness we can go over.
One of the things you put as the last one was, will management make it until the end of the year?
Yeah.
So I'll go on record now. I'm a firm believer that no matter what happens, Charrington's staying. Okay. I would be shocked if Charrington goes anywhere. A lot of the reason is, and again, people don't like him. I know he's made bad moves. I personally think he's bungled the roster on multiple occasions in terms of roster management. There's a lot of things about him I don't like, but what we just talked about,
Right.
for the first time in how long
did you finally figure out your little mental block on how to construct a team?
For me, it's again, we just had the conversation. Like next year, I could see a realistic. I mean, the year after that, I could see a realistic with the pitching. He has the hitting, as bad as the hitting has been, and as bad as the development of the hitting has been, the pitching has been talent identification, drafting, scouting, developing them, getting them to the majors quickly. Like
No more Brian
and overall is going to keep his job. That's my firm belief that I do not see them getting rid of him. On the other hand, I'm still leaning towards Shelton going.
God, please. What, you mean Sarek? He just got here,
Yes.
dude.
The new manager that also is
Sarek Delton just got here. Why do you want him fired?
For me, it comes down to the inconsistencies I talked about.
He's an absolute clown shoe.
I think he's going to be the scapegoat for all this, and part of it's probably fair, right? But we're at the point now where Haynes is obviously an issue. That's pretty obvious. The hitting approach, the hitting philosophy is an issue.
Get John Wayner as a hitting coach.
I forget who exactly said it. I think Gary might have his article, but there was a point that I saw out there that was, at the end of the day, same place as a workplace.
Yep.
Shelton's responsible for those below him.
Yep.
So I think a lot of how his tenure, the rest of his tenure happens here and in the future and whatnot is going to be based off of, is he going to hold these guys accountable? I mean, I would be flat out shocked if Haynes is back at this point. Haynes is someone for sure that I would be absolutely flabbergasted.
Yeah.
But you get the point. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Charrington's safe, but does Shelton go with the crew, or is it going to be Shelton with a revamped coaching staff? But something's definitely going to happen at the coaching staff level. There's no doubt in my mind, especially after this 10-game collapse.
And if Sherrington wants to win us over, if he wants to win the people off, like, let's start cutting people off of the knees and cutting off heads. Like, explain to me any reason why there's any absolute logical reason to keep Shelton around. Please. Right. I will gladly talk with you and hear what you're saying, but there's no reason. There's literally nothing to gain there.
The argument is Charrington gave him a bad roster. That's what the argument is. I see it a lot. What do you want him to do? It's Charrington. Charrington's the problem, 100% of the time.
So what's your excuse this year? I feel like your roster is decent enough to be competitive.
I mean, they were over 500 and they were 2.5 games out of a debt. The argument is that he wasn't given a good roster and it's Charrington's fault. Okay. And then you kind of get to the whole alleyway of, it's actually not Charrington's fault, it's Bob's fault because he's not spending. No. I think this year, especially the second half of last year, the first time he's had a real roster, and he was in games that mattered, and the team did nothing but flounder.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it.
You put up the lineup, man. You put out the lineup. You have a Sunday lineup probably about 3 out of 7 days. Right. Like, that's what you do without injuries. So, what's your excuse there? You have your getaway roster on a Thursday night, beginning of the series situation. Like, I don't get it. So no, it falls on him, and you're right, absolutely. In any workplace, this is still a business. This is an organization. It doesn't matter. It reflects on you.
Right. It's gonna be interesting to see. I could see a deviation where it's just a couple guys from the staff go and he remains. I could see that, but the way I'm leading right now is the question was end of season. Yes, I think they'll last end of season, especially since they bounced back like they did. I don't see them. It's nice to see them bounce back like they did because, again, we were sitting here and we're like, are they going to free fall? Are we going to get over the 74.5 wins?
Yeah.
It's been a nice bounce. Barring them lighting the world on fire and just narrowly missing, I see them making a change in some capacity, and I would be surprised if he is still here next year. I think the mindset's going to be, let's give Charrington's guys instruction from a different staff. Let's see if that was the problem. Now, of course, if you bring someone else in and it's the same thing, then you better believe the year after Charrington's probably on the block, right?
Yeah.
But there are too many guys coming up and failing in this atmosphere.
There's
It's
too
getting
much
to the
talent,
point where
right?
right. It's getting to the point where it's no longer, oh, it's one or two players just suck. Like we're talking like a list of people who have come up and struggled and not been
Our
developed.
center field situation was
Right.
it's still terrible. Let's be honest. Michael A. Taylor sucks,
Right.
but we still don't have a center fielder. And you played Swinski got like what 300 at bats. It felt like,
Right.
and we're like, oh, we'll finally send it down to AAA. I'm like, you still suck down there? Oh, who would have thunk it?
What is with everyone being zapped of their power when they get up here? I mean, look at De La Cruz. De La Cruz, like again, like, I'm not going to go down to that alleyway right now, but the guy's hitting for zero.
Yeah.
It's only, I'm talking like not even doubles. Like we're talking guys that like Taylor hit 20 homers last year.
It's a Haynes thing, man. I never really kind of bought into that idea of blaming the hitting coach on that because you're still the one that has to hit. But you're right. Like this is now how like Jack hit what 30 almost no he hit like 30 last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he hit 31 of the years. Haynes was here for that though. So I don't
Yeah, I mean I get it, but like did he tweak his swing? Did he because you can't go from 30 to I don't know bat. Like
Right,
that's
it's
what it felt
interesting.
like. Right,
Like-
that's unless you're devastatingly hurt, but
right, like it's not even the home runs either. It's like you guys are even doubles for Christ's
hard,
sake.
yeah, right. Just any
Yes.
contact. God, I mean, just generally, I'll take a Hayes ground ball at this point.
Right. But overall, I understand the argument of the players have to execute. I get
Yeah.
that. Shelton
But-
loves to remind everyone of that every chance he gets.
Yeah, he absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's no longer one or two players on executing.
No.
It's a lot, and it's new acquisitions, and it's people who
Right.
weren't even developed in this organization that are getting here and
Right.
doing that, right? So that's my overall end of year, sure. But I think
Yeah.
at the end of the year, they're going to go a different direction because they want to give these guys. I think that's a big reason. That might be a reason why you're not seeing Hank Davis right now, is they don't want him being touched with a 10-foot pole by that staff.
It's a valid point, man. Interesting.
It's just a thought. So,
I like it.
but all right. Well, that's all I got for my rambling tonight.
Yeah.
Unless you have any more compliments for me, Rich?
No.
Okay,
Uh,
I tried.
Yeah. So,
Um,
what do we got going on tomorrow here, friendo? I think we got something up on the YouTubes. We're ready and rearing to go at 11 a.m. here. So, what are we doing?
Yeah, so super excited. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Sunday, little brunch special. We're gonna have Gary
Yeah.
Morgan on. We're super excited about that.
Yeah.
I can't stress how much I appreciate Gary giving two guys who get minimal views,
Fully, man.
talk and chat with him. So I'm looking forward to that. But we will have Gary Morgan, DK on Sports, the Fan Forum. Guys has a lot. Hell of a writer too. Just really excited to have him on the show to talk Pirates. So I'm hoping you guys will tune in. If not, there'll be a recording available afterwards. So 11
Yeah.
a.m. tomorrow,
Yeah,
Eastern.
don't let us screw up your Sunday morning, but it'd
Yeah.
be pretty rad if you guys came in and chatted them up and tell them how pretty we are and all that stuff. Oh,
Okay. I gotta get a haircut.
Yeah.
The Bieber hair is getting there. I mean, I can't complain. I'm not losing it. Sorry, Rich. It wasn't a stray.
yeah, I was gonna say nature does my haircuts, man. It's
Yeah.
fine.
But all right,
yeah.
11 a.m. tomorrow, and then we'll
Yeah.
back to our normal schedule after that. So
All right. Well, thank you everyone for showing up. We had a lot of people in and out. I'll stream here, but appreciate everyone that showed up, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
all right. Thanks, Rich.
Toodaloo, kiddos.